Okay, so I'm about to start texture for the head. I need to prepare some scene first before I start to any texturing. So I'll be using this texture XYZ texture to wrap it on my face by using the plane and then Gillette method. So this size of these textures are A125 and 4521. So I will be creating a plane that match the size. So 8125 and 4521. And then scale can be matched to the head size. Something like this. And width and height can be many, but ideally more square will be better. So I'll be increasing this to 90. Yeah, and this should be good. So freeze it. And before I export this out, this UV has to be filled in this one-to-one space. So scale them up and make sure they are matching to this one-to-one size. Yeah, so this one should be fine. Then I'm gonna export this out. So select and then just export it out. And inside ZBrush, so delete anything that don't really need. And append and then import the plane that I just exported out. Okay, and make sure this plane goes on top. So this is a plane, and I'll be importing the texture, so I can kind of point one-to-one to the plane to the model. So go to texture and import texture, and I already downsized my texture to JPEG and then a much smaller size. Otherwise, the original size is really big. It's just not very efficient to work with. So this texture has been imported, and I need to flip V, because that's how the ZBrush texture lead. And select this plane, and then go to a texture map, and then the select texture. So here's my texture. And then go Z plugin and run the Gillette. Okay, so the texture and the model has been loaded. From this point, it's just basically clicking the point that are corresponding from this texture to the model. Okay. So start with the nose, and then the brow, and create multiple boards at a time, also fine, and make sure these numbers are all matching perfectly. Yeah, so I create all these, well, the vertices, and try to wrap it. Alright, so the points are all done, and let's go to wrapping and just click start wrapping. You can still move while it's in process. It's gonna take a while. Okay, so process is done, and click done. Then this is the wrapped plane. So isolate it, and this is how it looks like. I can still adjust this plane and then project it better. So just manually moving this area and then reproject it. Okay, so this should be fine. Where we export this out, and then I'm using X normal to project this and transfer this texture from the plane to the head UVs. Okay, here inside the Maya, and I have a head with the UV unwrapped. So this is the head UVs. I'm gonna export it out so I can project my planes texture from planes to this head. So I'm gonna import out just to see the textures and then the plane. And this is the plane that I wrapped in ZBrush. If I hit 6, OBJ, if there's any texture, it's gonna export it out with the texture. So this is sort of preview, basically low quality of the texture. There is some distortion here and there, but I can easily fix them in the Substance Painter. So they are aligned, which is good. So I will export this out. So export, and I'm going to just export out to the desktop, and then we named it as a head UV. Okay, and the X normal high definition meshes. So adding mesh and desktop, and then this one should be the wrapped one. So there's a wrapped head plane which I made in ZBrush, and then base textures to bake. So adding base textures to bake and navigate to the folder that residing those textures. So for me, it's here, and this one's supposed to be this one. This is the Albedo. So open, and I have a wrapped plane with texture. So this is my source. And low definition mesh is supposed to be the one that I just export out from my so UV head. So just right click and add meshes, and then desktop and head UVs. So yeah, this is all set. And go to baking option, set the output directory. I can just export out to desktop, and then add Albedo. I'll be just exporting it as TIFF, and 8K should be fine. I mean, larger is better in this case. And then just bake texture base, bake base textures. And default pocket render is fine. Anti-aliasing should be 4. Refine and just generate maps. Okay, so baking is complete. I can just close it and go back to high definition meshes. And this time is for the displacement. This one. And go baking option and then bake texture again. So this time will be head displace. Okay, all baked. So I will bring these textures into Painter, and then we'll check the maps and paint out any area that has issues. Okay, and I'm going to import resources as well. So import resources and add resources, and then these two textures that I just projected. So set them as texture and set to the project from project. Import. So I got these two a texture. Before I do anything, I adjust my field of view, which is focal length, something that much lower, so I won't get much of the camera distortion. Okay, and I'm gonna also turn off my normal and metallic and height, and just base color, and then roughness. Well, it's not exactly in fact I'm gonna use displacement, so it's more straightforward. Okay, so these three channels, I'm gonna click a fill layer, then I'm gonna plug in my color texture to the base color, and displacement to displacement. And roughness won't be nothing, but just control the overall roughness, so I can get a nicer preview. Okay, so this is the starting point. So the main thing that I'm going to do is obviously filling this missing area and clean up all the textures where have hair and some like darken area which is not supposed to be that dark, and like nostrils or inner mouth area and all that. So this session is all about just cleaning up the texture, so that I can get a nicer, nice and clean texture overall. Okay, so I'm gonna use the clone texture tool. So create new paint layer this time, and then set my layer mode to pass through. Change that to the displacement as well, so pass through. So I get the if I go to the clone tool and click V, which is set the source area and just start painting it. I can copy the source area to the where I start painting, and I can even paint my displacement at the same time as well. To do that, I need to import the source textures first. So it will be this one and this one, so albedo and displacement, and open it and set as textures. Import those to the program project and import. So I got these two textures imported. So I got these two textures, and hit 3 or click this button, which is for texture projection. So I can plug in my textures into each slot. So color goes to base color, and then displacement goes to displacement. Okay, and hold S and left click and move up and down, will scale them up. And a middle click will be like panning the textures. And then click to rotate the texture, like left click and hold to rotate texture. So to move and then project those texture some of the larger area. This area will be covered by the armor, but we also still need some sort of texture to hold up this large area. So I can just paint it like this. Make sure this texture scale won't go too high or too small. It always need to be related to the actual model scale. Otherwise, the textures will be pixelated or downscale too much. So it can be a bit bigger or smaller. It doesn't matter as long as it won't be like noticed too much. But make sure they are within this somewhat like relative scale. Yeah, so I can continue and then keep projecting this texture like this. For this area, doesn't necessarily need to be in a pass-through mode, so I can leave it as a normal, and then I can use pass-through for maybe my clone tool